We should be live.
Are we live?
Believe so.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our Facebook Live. My name is Maggie Venor on Facebook, Maggie Venor Texas Hair Color. Obviously, I live in Texas, and there's just been a lot of talk about deregulation these days in many states. And so I've had a lot of people and friends industry-wide, nationwide, sort of contact me, whether it was asking a question or
Believe so.
Can't be on there. Anyway, asking a question or asking me to sign a petition. So I've definitely done what I feel is my part in anything that I could sign. But I found that I was getting a lot of duplicates, and then people were asking questions of like, what do you think about this? And I kind of came up with what I thought about it. So I'm here today with my friend Kim Hansen, who is also a business mentor of mine, industry-wise. And her and I actually talked about this, and we decided to do a Facebook Live and sort of talk about it openly with everyone and allow people to answer questions or ask questions, and we can answer, or we could just talk together because no one's going to know everything about every state. But this is my friend Kim. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Because I had to turn, I think I was getting some feedback. So I am Kim Hansen. I have been a salon owner for 21 years and a hairdresser for 30. And I now work as an industry coach. So specific to mostly salon owners. And I too, Maggie, have had a lot of people that have come to me talking about deregulation, talking about, you know, their fear behind deregulation, what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our professionalism, you know, all these questions. And so Maggie posted something and I was like, heck yeah, I'm down for this conversation.
Right. So I was really excited that Kim wanted to join me to do this, and because we both kind of have a shared caring about the industry and wanting us to be more unified. And I'm a salon owner and I work behind the chair pretty much full time. I've been an educator or a brand ambassador off and on for the most of my career. And so I understand and have experienced a lot of different facets of the industry. Definitely not perfect. My journey, as Kim knows very well, has been a lot of trial and error and learning as I go as a salon owner and a hairstylist. So I definitely don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself a lifelong learner. And I think that being a lifelong learner in the industry makes you successful. So her and I have just come together. And if anyone's here watching and has any questions, Kim is going to be looking at those questions so we can discuss it. But I guess where we should probably start is, I think that Kim and I both think that there's a lot of fear behind deregulation. And I understand that fear. We all go to beauty school, cosmetology school, esthetician school, any of those things, and we invest in ourselves and we consider ourselves professionals. And I feel like we've always sort of fought to be considered that by a lot of different types of things in our industry, whether it be people, clients, ourselves. And so being deregulated, I think for me, the first feel that I felt was just like, okay, so now we're less credible, right? But as time went on and I got so many questions, and kind of marrying those questions and my thought process with my journey as a salon owner and a hairstylist in Texas, I started to feel a little differently about the approach. I think we all can spend our time fighting for our industry and advocating for it. It's important. But at the end of the day, should our industry become deregulated in the state of Texas, I had to ask myself, does that mean I'm closing my salon down? No. You know, I'm not going to be stopping doing what I'm doing. So how can I, as a small business owner and salon owner, how can I continue to thrive and enjoy the career that I love, and have the stylists that are under my care or renters feel confident that our business is going to be successful. And the place that I went to in my head was, we're just going to have to work with it. We're going to have to go with it. And it just starts with business and structuring your business and who's your ideal client and how you market yourself and how you do all that. And I just don't think deregulating is going to change that for me. Small example, I would just then change my marketing around a bit to, our salon only hires professionals who have gone to school. Our salon has a strict training process, and our salon can boast those types of advanced educated professionals that we continue to educate. And so Kim and I kind of both really agree with that. And she has a lot of really great insight on that. And one of the things that Kim said to me during our primary talks about having this Facebook Live was, and this is a direct Kim Hansen quote, which I wish we could make t-shirts about it, because we should make t-shirts. It says, our industry was deregulated when box color became a thing. Like, think about that. People are already doing the things that a deregulated salon industry has a challenge with. That's already happening. So we need to look at that, and we need to come together as an industry, and we need to figure out how we're going to fight for our professionalism for the people who want to be certified, licensed, regulated, and thought of as such. And I think earning that right is really important. And I know my ideal clientele would prefer to utilize that type of professional.
And so back to my comment about our industry was deregulated when, manufacturers and L'Oreal, or, all those, they started selling what we do in drugstores and to the general public. We already have to fix color correction. I've been watching a few comments and a couple posts in the back forums, and one of the comments was, well, that just makes, our color correction for those of us who are professional a hell of a business, right? So how do we as salon owners, how do I as a coach direct people to manage, to not fear deregulation? I don't personally, and Maggie and I've told this to Maggie, I don't personally feel like I have the control over whether or not a state deregulates. And by the way, there is 25 states of the 50 states that have deregulation on their books. And some of them have partial deregulation, which is a way to completely deregulate it. Whether they do, whether they don't, who knows? Who honestly really cares at this point? But one of the comments, and I just want to say hi to a couple people. So I want to say hi, Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, Brittany. Hi, Joseph. Hi, Kate. Taylor Jameson. One of the things Taylor Jameson says, which is one of the things that Maggie and I talked about, was one word: apprenticeship.
Right.
And I just want to touch on that a little bit, because I truly, truly believe that just because an industry deregulates and there's no actual licensing does not mean there's not schooling, right? It doesn't mean that we don't have to go to school. And I don't feel like cosmetology schools will fail. I think the good ones will survive, and those who are doing a great job will survive. But I also think, as James points out, the thing that it opens the door for is for salons who are prepared. And that's what I want to drive home in this Facebook Live, is salons that are prepared to offer an apprenticeship program and a great internship program and great training are the ones that will rise to the top, and we can actually utilize that to our advantage for those of us who have training salons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yeah.
there's the kitty cat.
Sorry.
Live.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to touch back on what Taylor was saying and to back you up, if we take the word deregulation and what we're all going through with that out of it, we could be having this entire FaceTime about the importance of choosing apprenticeship after you've finished with your basic foundational cosmetology training. So, you know, and all this, you guys, like, let me just say this statement really quick. There's a place for value priced walk-in businesses. There's a place for high end. There's a place for color correction specialists. There's a place for everything in our industry, right? Like, I've worked in value price walk-in. I value that experience that I had in the past because it taught me speed, time management, pretty much how to cut hair by trial or fire. And so there's so much value in every type of model in our industry of business. But, you know, working, like, if you decide that your goal is to be an advanced colorist or a master hair cutter, to be fair, an apprenticeship with someone that knows more than you is valuable. And with or without deregulation, that takes us back to the foundation that, like, Kim and I so strongly believe in, which is keep educating yourself, keep doing the things that make you a professional and make you better at your trade and your craft, because it is a trade and it is a craft. And it's not unlike any other one. It takes experience, it takes time, it takes dedication and hard work. And whether our industry is regulated or deregulated, I'm not going to stop doing hair because of that. I'm just going to, you know, do what I can to advocate for my industry and fight for it. But I'm still going to run my day-to-day salon business. I'm still going to reach out to coaches that I work with as a salon owner that help me manage my day and manage my business. And I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to walk away from that. So I think both of us are here today to really encourage you guys that sometimes we get so hypervigilant about the things that are important to us. And I say hypervigilant because it's okay to be vigilant. But when we get hypervigilant, we have to look at why we are, you know, what we are spending our time on. And you can only sign a petition so many times. You can only call your congressman or your state senator so many times. Is it important? Absolutely. I'm not knocking it. But what I am saying is, of all the messages that I get from my friends in the industry after all these years, of all the dialogue, I know for me, I got sucked into it for about 24 hours and I'm pretty empathetic. So, you know, I was ready to put on like a scissor shaped hat and march on everything because this is important to me. But I pulled myself in and I was just like, you know, I still need to get my systems and infrastructure worked on in my salon. And if I do what I can do, because I have no control what the government is going to do, I can only have my little voice. But if I spend a lot of time working on my systems of infrastructure, my advertising, and my, you know, promise to my clientele and on all of those things and make them really clean, simple, easy, executed well, I don't see how this is going to really affect me. I don't. And as far as partial deregulation, that's been happening across many states for a long time. And in my salon, if I had a, you know, person come in and they just were going to shampoo and blow dry, I would still train them to the value that I wanted them to produce for my salon, whether they were licensed or not. So really, it always comes back down to the simple foundation of what you're doing as a stylist, whether you're a booth renter or a commission stylist or a salon owner. And I think that's the most important thing to focus on. And that is my opinion on this.
And I think what you're saying is it's taking personal responsibility for the professionalism of our industry. And everyone needs to take personal responsibility for the professional and maintaining the professionalism of our industry. Clients want to still look good. clients still want beautiful hair. There are plenty of clients out there who really don't care, and they're picking up a box color. They're doing, you know, maybe they're cutting their own bangs, or they're cutting their own hair, or they're going to their neighbor's house and doing it anyway. So it's already in many ways deregulated. I want to get to a couple of the comments. So
Yeah.
going back to apprenticeship. So Donna says to Taylor's comment about apprenticeship is, however, the deregulation bill has no regulations for any necessary education. But that's true, but there still is the possibility of health and sanitation inspections,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And there still is, again, going back to our personal responsibility as salon owners and taking care of our clients. I want to welcome Frank and Andrew and Debbie to the live. Also, Donna says, who is a cosmetology teacher herself, she prefers the apprenticeship model of training, even though it would put her out of a job as an educator because she's a beauty college educator. That's not necessarily true.
I don't think
because
that's true.
So there is an apprenticeship program that I've been working with, and I'm gonna drop that name. It's called Atarashi, and I've been working with Jesse Scatral over the last probably 8 months to scale that program. What a lot of people don't know is that at the federal level in 2016, June of 2016, the president, who you may love him or hate him, made a executive order to make apprenticeship programs across all industries a priority. So Jesse's been working with the federal Department of Labor and the Department of Education to implement that. What that means is apprenticeship will be legal in the states that it's currently legal in. But federal law supersedes state law in regards to this because it's a federal apprenticeship program and it's an executive order. So it would also create reciprocity. It also, what people don't realize is way more hours of training in salon to live, work, and earn without the cost of beauty school training. So I am an advocate of it. However, I do think that there's a place for cosmetology schools and a place for apprenticeship programs with or without deregulation, because people will still want to learn and hairdressers still want to hire qualified hairdressers. Another comment is Brittany from North Carolina said, are North Carolina and South Carolina on that list? I know I should know that. So I know North Carolina is on the list for apprenticeship programs, and Jesse is working to implement that in North Carolina. Taylor says, back to Donna. Yes, Donna, I understand that maybe a day release program should be in place. I don't know what a day release program is. Maybe Taylor, you can clarify that. And then Donna says there's 16 bills currently in the state of Texas in the House and the Senate, some which have progressed to license and deregulations committees. So what control do we have truly over our state Senate? Yeah, it's how much, I mean, yeah, we can all band together, but our industry trade bodies, they do not necessarily support the hairstylist only.
No.
They have all collectively come into one big giant industry trade bodies, and there's a few other ones out there, but they don't necessarily represent us.
No.
So that's one missing link.
Well, going back to what you were saying about the what Donna was saying about the inspections. Now, Donna could correct me, and Donna is not only tremendously smarter than me, but she also seems to have 37 hours in the day as opposed to 24 to research things, and that's why she's like my human encyclopedia. However, from my own research, and Donna will correct me, so be watching the comments if I'm wrong, but from the phone call that I recently made, inspections will not stop because they are in Texas, they won't. Now, I cannot speak for any other state, and we know in our industry, like every state is so different in what their requirements are and what their state sanitation requirements are. But for the state of Texas, according to a TDLR representative that I spoke to, should a deregulation situation happen, TDLR would still then inspect said salons to make sure that basic sanitation practices were happening. Now, we all know as industry professionals that are watching that an inspection from a regulatory agency, whether we know or not if the person is qualified to even know what they're looking for, is not going to fix a chemical burn or a transfer of pathogens right in the moment. So it is a little scary, but I think even without deregulation, it's scary because they're not there watching all the time. In what Kim said is we've all been lumped into this one body, you know, like estheticians, cosmetologists, nail people. I would say the only like facet of our industry that I'm actually terrified is the nail industry, because not only is it statistically the highest like fined for cleanliness, having to do with like the culture of doing a ton of people at a time and maybe not following certain sanitation laws, but there's a huge human trafficking problem within the nail industry. And I don't necessarily mean human trafficking having to do with any kind of sexual aspect. I mean, that could be part of it. I don't know, but I'm more saying that I know specifically in my career over the course of years of kind of knowing that certain people in that industry that maybe didn't they came here and were living in not so great quarters and doing that job for a little while and then gone back home and then come back and like kind of work visa situation, and perhaps they weren't being paid what they should have been paid. I'm treading lightly here because I don't want to marginalize really great nail salons who are doing an amazing job and doing what they're supposed to be doing. We have several amazing nail salons here in Marble Falls that are like, could be a model for the rest of the country as far as their cleanliness and their employment practices. But I just know like across the nation, that's a really marginalized part of our industry. And deregulating would make me fear for any of those nail professionals who, you know, were licensed or not, and how they were treated and how they were paid and how they were employed. And that's not necessarily even because of any poor intentions. It just can sometimes be a cultural difference or, you know, what have you. So I guess that's what I fear for, mostly for the nail industry as far as deregulation goes, because I think it's really important to have foundations across the board.
Well, it's happening already, and I think that that's like there needs to be general sweep, and the Department of Industrial Relations, the Department of you know, of Labor. You know, there are other elements that come into human trafficking in not just the nail industry, but the massage industry. But my concern is anytime you break the blood barrier. And so estheticians, I also am a little bit concerned with aesthetics, because now with a lot of the new and waxing and, you know, a lot of that, you're breaking the blood barriers sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then then you've got a whole new problem.
Right.
But it all goes back to me, educating the public.
Mm-hmm.
Educating the public on what could happen to them, and educating the public on the importance of understanding the chemicals and understanding the sanitation practices.
Exactly. And I'm seeing like Donna's comments, and I totally agree with you, Donna, of like breaking blood barriers with barbers and breaking blood barriers with estheticians. For Brittany, yeah, absolutely. I think maybe, if I may, like, you guys are saying this from a standpoint of, if there was no cosmetology school and they were never taught not to, and you can never be too clear, so we can't assume that people would understand that they could possibly contract HIV or spread it that way. But even with going back to, even without being deregulated, I have seen dumpster fires of horribleness in my career, of people who spent $30,000 to go to school, and they're saying, you know, as a renter, I've worked next to people way in the past, you know, like, who maybe never clean their brushes, or not, you know, like, we've all had those moments with our coworkers, or with, you know, people we work with, or salons that we decided to go to. And with or without deregulation, that doesn't cure irresponsibility. That doesn't cure laziness. That doesn't cure, I don't care. So I will always go back to the place of advocating and fighting for our industry as a whole, to be more unified and thought of as more professional. And deregulating is definitely not a win, but like, there could be a bigger thing here. There could be a bigger thing. And we could talk about the legislative aspects of this all night long. But one of the things that Kim and I kind of feel is important is to like open up kind of a alternative dialogue here. And that alternative dialogue could be, how can we support each other and advocate and come together to create a union of people who are going to take it more seriously than it's ever been taken, who are going to come together and, you know, create certifications that earn the right for those people to be professionals as part of that, or, you know, ways we can monetize, because we've got to keep making money. It's America, and we're still going to be cosmetologists and estheticians and nail techs and barbers, and we love what we do, and that's why we're here. So are we going to get together and find solutions? Are we going to create advertising and create platforms that help us to attract the ideal clientele that wants us specifically? And that, to me, along with fighting for our industry in ways that we tangibly can on a micro level, is the most important thing to me. So, I mean, I'd like to open up the dialogue about that.
About coming together and creating an organization that advocates for the hairdresser. Is that what you're wanting to open up the dialogue about?
Right. I mean, like, that could be a whole nother conversation. I mean, you know, yeah, that would be fantastic if we could create something. I know there's several trade-based clubs, sororities, fraternity kind of bodies out there that are so awesome, but I just don't think we really have anything that is like almost unionized to protect us. And I think that's kind of what's missing. But at the end of the day, like, to make it simpler for a Facebook Live when we're just very first time talking about this, and I know I'm like open to doing this again if we need to. We can continue this dialogue and break it up into subjects. It's fine with me. But I think the better dialogue and the bigger dialogue that is really close to my heart, and I want to hopefully like touch your hearts with, that is, how are we going to be better salon owners, hairstylists, business owners? How are we going to structure our advertising? How are we going to attract our ideal clientele? How are we going to execute what the client wants and needs safely, and take that upon ourselves to do it? Because logically, as a client of many services that I get on myself, like, I just got eyelash extensions today, and I go to a lady who's awesome. And so I like being a client, and I go to her. Yeah, I mean, because she's good and because she's fun, but her place is nice and clean. Her system of booking is seamless. My time on her table is short. Like, we need to break it down to that simple level of, what does a client want? What does a customer want? What does the consumer want? And there's just not enough talk about that in the beauty industry. Like, we need to get back to some business basics here too. Yeah, we need to make sure everyone's on board with sanitation. Of course, that's paramount. And I know Brittany said that she saw a video of a woman waxing a man's genitals with no gloves. Honey, people touch men's genitals all day with no gloves, all the time, all across the country. We can't control that, my darling. Like, I love you. Right. I get what you're saying, but like, I totally get it. It's so gross, but like, it's just, we cannot pick pins and pick needles out of haystacks here as much as we want to. I mean, Donna probably can, like, full disclosure. That woman can be 20 places at once and know the scientific chemical makeup of everything. But like, I mean, how are we, give me some examples of what you guys think. I've said what I think, but how are we going to come together and have people be able to say the beauty industry is unfuckwithable? They have it going on.
We are unfuckwithable if we want to be.
If we want to be.
If we want to be. And that's where I say we need to move past the thought and the fear of deregulation. And we need to come together and talk about education. And you talked about, getting back to basics. What is it that makes a successful salon unique? What creates a successful salon? There's a couple things. And okay, I'm going to plug my 10-month program. It's called Back to Basics. And it starts with the foundation. We develop systems. Part of those are education systems. What is it that you really want to create, and how do you create it? And don't worry about what Joe Schmo or Mr. Senator or Mr. Governor is working on. Worry about your own shit and your own investment. Okay, that's like my whole. That's
and I think all the other things will fall into place with all that. I understand no one can be clear enough about what's important. We get that, but starting with those foundations, and Kim has an excellent program. I was actually supposed to start in the first session. I did not, but it was because I was wrapping up some other projects I was doing and I wanted to be fully present for Kim's program. But I'm actually really excited to jump on her next session. And I invest all the time in things that will make me a better salon owner, better hairstylist. I'm pretty humble of knowing where my weaknesses are, and there's a lot of them. So I was super excited about that, and I'm going to be excited to jump in on her next session and do my 10-month program with her. But
we're not here to plug my things.
No, we're not. But we're here to make a point. And
we're here to talk to. It's really about the fear and all this going on with deregulation. And it's, in my opinion, and I think in your opinion, and where Megan and I agree, it's how do we remain professional and create a safety net for our industry that we can fall into, that's strong, that keeps us professional and sets us apart from other people. I just want to go back to the thing. I want to say hi to Elby. I want to say hi to Kevin. Hi to Michelle. Hi to Jessica. Donna says, keep posting so the more people that see and sign and get involved, that's something, if that's passionate for you to do, get involved on that government level. Carl says, hi, great broadcast. I'm based in the UK as a coach. And of course they have no regulation at all.
Right. Okay. Which is true, because I do a lot of hair stuff sometimes in the UK. So I there's a lot of challenges over there.
And where do some of the most fantastic hairdressers come from in the world?
I know.
London.
Exactly.
And they are completely deregulated. Why? Because they focus on apprenticeship and education.
Yet they're still thriving. And I think that's the point we're trying to make. Yes, we are talking about deregulation. So please don't think we were getting off track or advertising, because we were not. Gary Call needs to have a tango for a second. No, Gary, I agree with you. We don't let that decide the capitalist free market. No, like I get what you're saying totally. And like, I'm totally in that corner of, we got to do the things and the stuff that have to do with civil rights and, you know, or like our rights as Americans and workers. And it's important to not be apathetic. It's like voting or not voting. Like, we have to do all of those things. And I'm not saying that Kim or myself aren't spending, you know, a portion of our time making sure that our names are on said lists and that we're not advocating as much as everyone else is right now. I think we just have a little bit of a different spin and like a food for thought. And that food for thought goes back to every other challenge in our beauty industry that we all, you included, all of us are fighting for as brands and companies and with our hiring practices. And, you know, like I know Kim as a coach, like I've come to her with different challenges I've had and with hiring and recruiting. And one time I was having a giant pity party, you know, there was like violins playing and it was just really sad. And Kim was just like, okay. And this is why I love Kim, because I like blunt people because I am one, but Kim was like, I just talked to someone in Los Angeles with your same problem, you know? So it really gets me to a point where, my husband's calling me because he's never on Facebook, so he has no idea there. It gets me to a point of understanding that like we all have the same challenges. We have the same challenges, no matter what your market is. Like I live in a town that probably is 8 to 10,000 total. It's about 80,000 circumference wise of what we serve. But you know, like we come in with our challenges and they're all the same across the board, no matter where we live. And some of those challenges have to do with structuring our education and our advancement and our quality and our employees and what school they went to and how can we all come together and really make them listen to us if we can't back up what they're trying to deregulate. We got to back it up. Right now we have a 1 to 3% elite status of people who care. Like, I mean, like most things, but
right now, so the numbers say, I think it was in 2018, 2017, the industry average income for a hairdresser was $25,000 a year. That freaking sucks. If that's true, I mean, numbers can be manipulated and all kinds of things can come in there, but our revenue and how hard we work and how hard some of us educate ourselves, we should be making we shouldn't just be managing, we should be thriving. So how do we come together and thrive? Because you're right. I, as a coach, know that all of the people listening out there have the same problems. And one of the biggest problems is hiring and how to find the right people. And trust is a huge problem in our industry. How do we as salon owners trust our staff? How does our staff trust us? Leadership, another huge thing I can go on and talk about, but all of these things are like separate issues. And, you know, but it all comes down to those things to manage through, things like deregulation. The more we act professional, the more successful we are, the more influence and power we have over other people. But if we're running around with our heads spinning, I personally don't have an opinion on deregulation. I could really give a shit if they did deregulate. My opinion is the salons that I work with and the salons that come to me, do you have an education program? Do you have systems? Do you have good leadership? Are you making a profit? That's what I care about. Are you making money? Is your hairdressers making money? Deregulation is like, to me, I mean, it's just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. How do we manage it? Real quick, hi, Gary. I want to say hi, Gary, because Gary's like my people. Hi, Alicia. Hi, I think I missed Jennifer and Steven. And Oscar's watching, my buddy. There's some more comments. Jason Everett, Sherry's watching, Bonnie's watching. We've got some like awesome people watching. Joseph Novak is watching. Joseph has got huge opinions on deregulation. Go ahead and post him, Joseph. Maybe we can bring Joseph and
one of my old clients is watching, Sandy. Hi, Sandy.
Sandy's watching. So we just want to say hi to everyone. We're not going to be able to get to all of these comments. So one of the things, the very last thing I'm going to scroll to is salons are worth anything. Salons that are worth anything are doing services much better than the level of performance of the stylists who are coming out of school. So what does that mean?
I believe that's a true statement.
I believe it's the true statement. But what does that mean?
With or without deregulation, that's still a true statement.
Advanced education.
Exactly.
I heard one time, a long time ago, it was like about 10 years ago, I was in a class, and it said that a great hairdresser, if you add up the amount of hours over their period of their lifetime of their career, it ends up where great hairdressers receive more hours in education than an MD.
It's true.
So I love that. Bernie Koch, how many great hairdressers have good salon owners created? Many, yes. How many great salon owners have they created? Not so many. Why not? What are we afraid of?
Well, I mean, being a salon owner has literally almost nothing to do with being a hairstylist, to be honest. That's business knowledge, that's organization, that's leadership. This is a big onion, y'all. This is a huge onion with lots of layers. So, like we were saying, like there's a lot of like garbage in the dumpster fire here. There's a ton of it. But we can talk about it again. We can break this down into smaller subjects and do a series. I don't care if that's what we do, but the bottom line is, yes, fight for your industry. Yes, do the things that make you responsible and non-apathetic if you care about it. But I see a little too much of the person who could like do all this and this in their salon or for their business, and then they're spending a lot of time like worrying about legislation, and we don't have a whole lot of control. We only have what we can do. Whether we agree with it, don't agree with it, have an opinion about it, or not have an opinion about it, that doesn't really matter. What matters is, say it becomes deregulated in every single state tomorrow. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Are you going to close?
Yeah.
Or are you going to figure out a way? And here's the thing. Take care of your own home first. If you're not taking care of your own home first, then you really shouldn't be fighting the bigger battles.
True. And I'm going to quote you on that before we get off here, because Kim said something really important to me. And like most of you or some of you watching, and like a lot of my friends know that I was a brand, like a educator for a brand for many years. And I love the brand. I still use it extensively. I don't have like very good, positive break in that situation. But I'm no longer doing that right now because for a lot of reasons. But Kim really said something powerful to me one time in a conversation, and it was that she knew so many salon owners who had a lot of things to work on in their business as a business owner. And those things become challenging, and those things become overwhelming, and those things become big. And we're stylists, we're creative, and we want to be loved, and we want to feel like we do good at things. So we become educators, and we get, you know, our back patted when we go into other salons and other places and teach them things. And that doesn't mean that, like, because we have challenges at home that we don't have value. It just means that sometimes you got to look in the mirror and, you know, mow your own grass for a while. Because for me, authenticity is the most important. And I knew I was kind of coming to a fork in the road with what was most important for me to clean up. And I was really grateful that she reminded me of that. And I think that really goes along with what we're saying right now is when you get too big on things that you're too riled up about, but there's not any one thing one person can do, it's easy to forget the things we need to clean up in our own space because we're really smart and awesome about that bigger problem. And I just think we're all really smart and we all have a ton of value. And if we come together, we can really show, you know, any type of legislative body that they can't touch us. They can't touch our business. They can't touch our industry. They can't touch our education. And we can only grow from there. So as far as us closing out, which I'll let Kim do, but if you guys have any, like, if you want to watch this once we post it and add more questions or comments or opinions, that is totally welcomed. And we will go back and then look at those and answer them. And if you guys have a request for us to continue deconstructing this in more ways to make everyone feel some type of voice in it, and get a different feel or whatever you need, like, we could maybe schedule to do this again. So back to you, Kim.
Okay, so I'm just going to close out as, you know, only the strong survive. And so my deal is unity. It's always been unity. It was unity in my business. And the more we come together, quit arguing, come together in a professional, thoughtful, organized way and work through the problems, we will thrive. We deserve to thrive. Some of us have put years. I put 31 years of my life into my career. I ain't letting that go. And neither should. I'm going to get really close to the camera because when I get really close to the camera, I mean it. I want to tell you guys.
You seem so serious.
Let shit like this derail you, get you upset. We will survive. We are hairdressers. We are strong. And we're gonna build beyond this. Don't let it get in your way. Don't let it mess with your mind. All right.
Agreed. So I guess we're gonna close out right now, but thank you guys so much for watching. And again, like, you know, we'll post this. So if you have any more questions, we can, or comments or opinions, we can do that. And doesn't matter what level you are. I don't care if you spent $500,000 on your advanced education, or if you work at any number of commission walk-in mall. I don't care what salon you're in, like, you are welcome here. This is an open environment. So don't feel, everyone has value in our industry as well as every model. So everyone have an awesome evening. And thank you so much for your time.
And feel free to reach out to either Meg or I if you have a topic. I know apprenticeship came up in this, so that might be our next topic. Maggie, Facebook, private message us. We'd be happy to hear other stuff you want to talk about in regards to how we make ourselves and our industry stronger.
Yay.
Okay. All right. Night, y'all. I'm talking y'all. I'm from Texas.
It's catching. It's
I
catching.
was married to a Texan for 16 years. It comes real easy.
Mm.
Okay. Night night, guys.
Good night.